less than 20 minutes.
Okay.
We can start.
I can start, have you?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Samuel Oluwafemi Shuaga. I'm on the mobile app team for Beacon Dev Center. I'll be talking about data binding in Angular. Please go to the next slide. So, what is data binding? Data binding is a form of communication. So, as it's put here, data binding is the process that couples two data sources together and synchronizes them. In data binding, change to an element in the data set automatically updates in the bound set. What this is saying is that we have two data sets. So we are communicating between two sets of data, the component and the view. So Angular is a front-end framework that is used for building applications. And the way Angular is designed is that when building an application, we have the component, the logic, how the application works. Then we have the view. The view is what we see, what the application looks like. So we have two data sets that we bind together. We bind the data in the component and the logic to the data in the view. Let's go to the next slide. So that's what this is saying here. So data can be passed either from component to the view or from the view to the component. It can go one way or it can go both ways. Let's go to the next slide. So how does Angular handle data? That's what I was explaining earlier. Angular components must have a dynamic data functionality to make them more meaningful and valuable. Having static data may limit its usage as the users will not be able to change their information. The Angular must respond to the user's interaction and record their responses to perform specific tasks. And so when Angular handles its data dynamically, it means that you do not add code, or you're not supposed to add code data or have static data in Angular, because the applications grow. And when applications grow, if you happen to use static data and you want to change that data in the future, you would have to look for where certain, if there was a name, the original name was Income ICT. And later in the future in the application, you want to change it to Income Dev Center. You have to, if you do not properly, if you don't write your code dynamically, you have to go into the code and start looking for every tag that has Income ICT and look for how to change it. It can cause the application to break. You can miss some places. But once the application is designed dynamically, you just set it that, and you just put it at the name, then you set the name to Income Dev Center. So anytime you want to change the name of that particular application, you just go to that place where you define the name and change the name to what you want it to be. So dynamically that way, like that. So anytime something changes, it changes in all the applications. Please go to the next slide. Oh, okay. Wait, before you go. So there's an example here of how components and the view. So if you look closely, you see that here in the component, the title is defined. We have a slogan and we have a display. Then in the view, inside the view, we put title somewhere, we put slogan, and we have another button and all that. So what I was trying to explain earlier, this is how it works. So in this place now, in the view, where is written as title, it's not the title that appears, but it's not the title that appears, it's the shopping that is defined in the component template that shows. Then where is written as slogan, it's not the slogan that comes up on the view. It's your one-stop shop that comes up. So that is how the component and how they communicate, how data is passed from one end to the other. Please go to the next page. Angular data mining is a technique used to maintain sync and components and view model. Please go to the next page. So there are different types of data binding in Angular, and there are two broad categories: one-way data binding and two-way data binding. Under one-way data binding, we have subcategories. That's why we have property binding, event binding, and string interpolation. Next slide, please. So one-way data binding, two-way data binding, types of data binding. In that one-way data binding, we now have communication can be, or information is either passed from the component to the view or from the view to the component. If information and the types that pass types of data binding that pass information from the component to the view are interpolation, property binding, style binding, class binding, attribute binding. But when information is passed from the view to the component, that is event binding. When we have to when an event has to happen for information to pass across to the component template. Please go to the next. Sorry. One-way data binding. One-way data binding is a technique used to bind data from either side of the application. The flow of data is unidirectional, and the critical data will flow only in one direction, either from component to view or from the view to the component. It is the most straightforward communication technique where the HTML template changes with the TypeScript to change. Please go to the next slide. And what are the various types of one-way data binding? The first one is interpolation binding. Interpolation binding is a technique that displays the component property with the view template. Angular can directly take out the property names of the component and add those values within the browser. It further displays all the changes made by the developers. The interpolation binding performs various tasks such as displaying properties, evaluating arithmetic expressions, displaying array items, calling methods, and then displaying the results. Please go on to the next slide. Interpolation binding, it has a syntax, we call it the mustache syntax, where we have two curved braces on the left and two curved braces on the right. Then we put in the variable name for what we're trying to bind. An example is here in the template, the tag, we say welcome. Then we bind first name and last name into the p tag. So you see that on the left, first name is defined as Sakin. Then the last name is also defined as Tenduka. Then in the template, when we are writing the code, we say welcome. Then we don't write Sakin, we now interpolate it. We put that first name that we defined, we put it inside the curved braces, curved bracket, curly braces rather, the double curly braces, then put first name, then put last name. Then when the application wants to show it, the output comes out as name that was defined in the components. So that is how interpolation works. Also in the definition, we understand that interpolation also can perform other functions, it can perform an arithmetic function. So in this case where first name is written, if you had written 2 plus 4 there, in the output, because in the curly braces we put 2 plus 4, the output will come out as 6, not as 2 plus 4. So interpolation has various other functions, or it can perform various functions. Let's go to the next slide. Another type of one-way data binding is property binding. Property binding in Angular helps you set values for properties of HTML elements or directive. So use property binding to do things such as toggle button functionality, set paths programmatically, and share values between components. Property binding moves a value in one direction from a component's property into a target element. It is an exclusive one-way binding where the properties of any DOM element are bound with different fields. Property binding has the following syntax. There's a binding target, then there's a binding source. So the syntax for writing property binding is this angle brackets. So for interpolation, we use curly braces, double curly braces. For property binding, when we want to bind properties, we use angle brackets or single angle brackets. Please go to the next slide. So we have a property. Say you want to use an image in an application. So originally in HTML, if you want to uh, display an image, when you get use the image tag, you see on the property binding, when you use the image tag, you have to also set the source. That's the address of where the image is going to be displayed. So rather than putting the normal HTML address in the source, we use property binding. And what that means is that we use this angle break bracket under source property, then we'll now define it. We set it to a variable that is going to define the component. Okay, so in the component, this product.image.url is going to have the address that has that sets where the image is, and that way the image is defined. So as I was explaining earlier, if you wanted to say you wanted to change, you're building an application that has a logo, then the logo are used in different parts of the application. So when you want to put the address of that image, if originally, so if you want to, if you put the address as it is in this image tag, anytime you want to change the image that you used in the application, you have to go into the application, like I said earlier, and start changing it one by one. But because Angular works as this dynamic functionality, you can use property binding to set it, and that way, anytime you want to change the address of the logo, you want to change the logo, rather than come here into the code and change this product.image.url, it stays like this. You don't change it. You only go into the component view, component rather, where it was defined, where the product.image.url was defined, and change um, the address in the component. Please go to the next slide. Event binding. And event binding is another one-way data binding type that lets you listen for and respond to user actions such as keystrokes, mouse movement, clicks, and touches. What that is simply saying is that you can also, so far the first two we talked about, we're passing information from the components to what the user sees. But you can also pass information from what the user does back to the component. So that's what we call event binding. So when you type, or when you click enter, or when you do something, when you overwrite something, information is passed um, from the view to the component. Please go to the next slide. So an example, this example here, on save is a method that has been defined in components. We told this. So let's assume you've done something in this application. Then once you want to save what you've done, there's a button that will say save. So in that button, you are going to use event binding to bind the click function. So yeah, we're telling Angular that once this button is clicked on, then run this onSave method. This onSave method now is defined in the component. So we are sending information. We are sending information that something has been saved to. We're sending it back to the component. So that's event binding in Angular. Please go to the next slide. So we talked about interpolation, where we use curly braces, property binding, where we use angled brackets, event binding, where we use curved brackets, and now two-way data binding, where information is passed in both directions, from the component to the DOM and from the view to the component. Please go to the next slide. Two-way data binding uses both event binding and property binding. It brings them together. Then that is how it works. Then information is able to be passed from the view, like in event binding, from the view to the component. Then also, like in property binding, from the component to the view. Please go to the next slide. And the syntax for writing two-way and data binding. After having curved brackets, you're going to also put, sorry, the angled brackets. the curly bracket is going to be inside the angle bracket, then you also must always write ng model, because without that directive, uh, the two-way data binding will not occur. So two-way data binding in Angular technique is one in which data flows to and back from the component, flows to the component and back from the component. Information or data flows in both directions. Whenever a developer changes something within the view model, changes are reflected immediately within the elements. Two-way binding in Angular is ANI forms. So we majorly use two-way data binding forms in the sense that any changes made in the user field, the changes are then updated in the model. On the other hand, when the user updates the details in the model, they are reflected within the view component. It has a syntax where we enclose brackets inside angle brackets. This technique uses a particular directive known as not exactly a part of the two but a part of the Angular forms model. So what that means is that to use two data binding you have to use the Angular forms model. So when you use Angular, you don't want to use certain models, you have to import them into the application. So for you to use two data binding, you must always import Angular forms and ng model as
Hi, Samuel.
I
We can't hear you clearly.
sorry. Yeah. ng model used property binding and event binding in the backend. The value is bound using. Sorry, when did you stop hearing me? Where should I go? At what point?
You can just continue.
Okay. So two-way data binding allows us communicate from the view to the component and from the component to the view. Data is passed in both directions. And ng two-way data binding is used in forms, very handy in forms. So when you are using a form to take information, two-way data binding allows us to bind user input to the form. So please go to the next slide. So in two-way data binding, a change in the view causes a change in the model, or a change in the model causes a change in the view. Let's go to the next slide. So in this example here, two-way data binding, after the user, there is an input field here. So as you are typing into the input field, whatever you are typing into the input field is reflecting in the application, it is reflecting it in the view. You can see that whatever you are inputting is also reflecting in the view. So in applications where you have to search for something, so let's assume you want to search for there's an application that has all the workers in income. So let's assume you want to search for say Samuel. As you are typing Samuel in the input, all the Samuels that are in that application will come up because the input field has been bound to the form. That is sending data binding to Angular. Go to the next slide. I have questions. If you have questions. Before I ask my questions, I'll go ahead and take questions.
So thank you very much, Mr. Samuel. Thank you for the presentation on data binding in Angular. Thank you. So if we have any question pertaining to what Mr. Samuel has presented to us, please let's signify. Do we have any question? So if we don't have question, I guess you can just ask. We are much behind time, but you can just ask maybe one question from.
What are the different types of data binding in Angular?
You are not audible enough.
Types of data binding in Angular. Who knows the types of data binding in Angular?
You can call on anyone. You can call on anyone.
I know, I'm trying to. Olivia.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
What
Mr. Mohammed wants to answer.
Okay, Mohammed, please go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if I got that correctly. You mentioned one-way data binding and two-way data binding.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
All right. There are two answers already in the chat box. So thank you very much. I guess that would be okay for that. Thank you very much for the presentation today. Nice presentation. And we won't be having a second presenter today because of time constraints. He was not able to join us much earlier, and he might be joining tomorrow's presenter to present, and that's Mr. Jacob Ijoma, for tomorrow's KD session. So, Mr. Samuel, thank you for today. And everyone, thank you for joining today's session. If we still have any question regarding the whole KD, the OKD process and every other thing, if there's anything that we still need clarification on, you can just send me a message. And if you have any question as to the presentation for Mr. Samuel on data binding in Angular today, you can also send a message to him. He will sure give us answer. So thank you everyone for joining today's session. I appreciate every one of us. See you tomorrow, same time and same channel. Thank you.